This was about 10 years ago. I was working at a strip club when a bachelor group of about 10 came in, including the groom's best friend since high school, aka the best man. So they're doing the typical bachelor party at a strip club thing, but are very polite and decent dudes, mostly just drinking and enjoying the risque atmosphere and catching up. Strip club was near the airport, pretty sure most of them had flown into town from around the country. All of them were telling us how the bride had implicitly stated, "No strip clubs," when talking to the best man. The groom and his best man were telling a story to me and another girl hanging out with the group, about how they did a talent show in high school together. They had this whole dance routine choreographed to It Takes Two by Rob Bass and DJ Easy Rock. They were so excited to relive it, obvious that they hadn't been able to tell this tale to fresh ears in a while. Their faces were all lit up like kids on Christmas, and they kept jumping up and showing us parts of the dance, explaining how it was awesome because they both remembered the whole routine after all this time, and they even ended with them both doing a jazz split at the same time. So eventually they get the idea that they want to perform it on the main stage together. They excitedly asked us if we thought they could get up there and do it. Now I thought it would be wild to see, so I go ask the manager, who promptly says no. Insurance and liability issues, etc. Fair enough. I give the news to the dudes, who have been talking with the rest of their group, and now everyone is very on board with this performance revival plan. So when they hear the bad news they start offering cash. As we all know, money talks, and it was a particularly slow evening. Not many patrons to bear witness. So I go back to the manager and explain they are willing to pay. Fine, she says. $200 to rent the stage for the one song, and they have to tip the DJ to play it. $200 is pretty steep for a 5-minute song, but you know, alcohol and dudes reminiscing. The guys are happy to pay. Now this is midsummer, and all the dudes are in cargo shorts and those Tommy Bahama leather sandals. The club wasn't big on dress code aside from no hats. So these two guys get all ready to take the stage, and the DJ puts the song on. These two killed it. We all sat together watching in complete genuine delight. I was laughing and clapping and cheering them on. We all were. It was just like they said it was. You could tell they were just having the time of their lives up there. And with the final moments of the song came that jazz split, the jazz split that only the groom decided to go ahead with. I'm assuming the best man, they were all mid-30s, had second thoughts on his body's ability to not wrench itself in pain. We all watched in awe that immediately turned to horror as the groom's face bounced off the stage like a basketball. My hands clapped over my mouth and everyone just froze for a second in disbelief. Then we all rushed the stage. The dude slipped on his sandal on the come down and knocked out his 2 front teeth. He had to be rushed to the ER. He was getting married the next day. I still wonder to this day whatever happened to him. And his group. And if they were able to explain themselves out of that one. Still. What a performance. Ouch. And with the wedding the next day too. Better not be smiling for any photos. But you know what? These days you can just Photoshop some teeth in. No biggie. Story 19. So my best friend got married a few years back. We threw this crazy bachelor party and rented a cabin in the Pocono Mountains. It was a weekend of drinking, smoking, and debauchery. We hear about this crazy strip club that will shuttle you to and from your rental. Awesome. We get a ride in this white Dodge van that 2 bouncers come pick us up in. We get there and it looks like your typical strip club. Bars and tables. Girls dancing on stage or walking around. It's packed. And obviously there are multiple bachelor parties going on. So we're having a good time watching guys be embarrassed on stage and whatnot. Some of the guys in our group are chatting and laughing. And whispering oh my god type stuff. No sooner am I asking what's going on when the hottest female I've ever laid eyes on comes up and starts dancing against me. I mean really going at it. I'm enjoying myself when she leans back, grabs my pants and whispers $100 and I'll get you off. It's hitting me as she goes on. Holy shit. This isn't a normal strip club. I look around and every girl's a goddamn 10. I'm trying to hold back a seizure. Can't do it, I think to myself. I'm married. Shit. Almost all of us are married. We all agree not to do anything we would regret. So just dances. So the night goes on pretty uneventfully and we realize one of our gang is missing. It's the groom's brother-in-law. After like 2 hours he shows up, hair disheveled, a daze in his eyes and a big grin in his face. We're like, dude, where the F have you been? To which he replies, I don't know but I'm out like $800. The funniest/most awkward part was our ride back to the cabin. Amongst a drunken group, someone blurted out about getting with a stripper. The driver perked up and asked what he said. I butted in and said, nah he's just wasted man, he's just kidding. The driver, who was a bouncer says, whatever man, but you should probably clean yourself with bleach and get tested. Absolute dead silence the rest of the ride back. Yikes, $800. It seems pretty steep to me. The driver definitely knows a thing or two or at least heard some horror stories from some other passengers. Story 20. UK co-workers of mine decided to throw a stag do for their friend in Prague. It was something like 2 weekends before the wedding. Everyone gets wasted, they keep talking about strippers and girls, but no one has any idea how to go about finding one. The best man decides he'll go find out and the groom follows him. No one sees them for the rest of the night. They don't answer phones. We end up going back to the hotel debating if we should call the cops and report them missing. It's the same story the following morning. Someone checks with the front desk and they apparently checked out in the middle of the night, they were sharing a room. We all get back that Sunday. Best man shows up for work on Monday saying the groom-to-be has some thinking to do. We all got the "please do not come to the wedding" email from the wedding organizer that week. Turns out the groom had a major "I don't think I want to get married" moment while they were out looking for strippers, came out to his best man as gay and then left for Israel the following morning to see a guy he had a crush on since high school. Apparently the bride to this day believes one of the guys at the party turned him gay and refuses to speak to any of his friends. Better late than never, I guess, at least he didn't go through with it. But imagine being blindsided like that right before the wedding. The copium makes a lot of sense. Story 21. Finally it's my time to shine. This one is a little different from other stories on here, but it may be one of the worst things that could happen to anybody at a bachelor party, so just bear with me. The day before my brother got married we decided to have a really small bachelor party with just a few guys and go skydiving. We knew a small place that had a small hangar outside of a small city and decided that this would be the place since we could do it for a small price. It was me, my brother, my sister and another friend that was coming from upstate, and we had an appointment at 5 p.m. for our jump. Long story short, the other friend left hours ahead of time to make sure he would arrive on time but had major car problems and then got stuck in traffic, making him about an hour late instead. We were communicating during all of this and trying to decide whether we should wait or just go ahead and jump without him. Finally we decided to ask the staff if there were any groups after us that we could trade appointments with so we could wait for our friend. Well, as fate would have it, there was a group of exactly 4 just after us, same as our group, so after the other party agreed to swap they just switched us times and we had the later appointment. They were excited to be able to go sooner than they thought. My brother and I had gotten there early and we were having a great time watching the planes go up and the jumpers come down. They would go up 4 at a time, 2 jumpers and 2 instructors jumping in tandem, and would land right in front of the hangar. It was fascinating for me to see how they would come in so fast, then just at the last minute they would pull up and land like a bird, or I guess a parachuter. Anyway, the first 2 of the group we swapped came in just fine and my brother and I went out to watch the other 2 jump before it was our turn to strap into the harnesses. Fast forward, we saw them jump, we saw one of them deploy their chutes but the other fell way further. I remember thinking, wow, I hope I get an instructor that lets me fall that far, that looks way more fun. Eventually their chute deployed, but as soon as it did they started going into an uncontrolled spin. They were coming in hot and I was waiting for them to pull up like all the others had, but they never did. I heard a scream, they slammed into the ground and a cloud of dust shot up about 6 feet into the air. They were out in the weeds nowhere close to the landing pad. The weird thing is that there were no staff outside watching. My brother, my dad, who was there just to watch us jump, and I were the only ones to see them hit. I ran and told the staff what happened and then we ran out into the weeds to find them. They were both unconscious, face down in the dirt. It was bad, but I'll save you the details. We wanted to start CPR but their bodies were so tangled in the harnesses that we had to get the seat belt cutters from their packs and start cutting the straps apart so we could roll them over. One of the weirdest parts of the experience was cutting the straps and noticing that there was poop splattered across the harnesses. We performed CPR on the jumper and the instructor until ambulances arrived, but we learned later that both were confirmed passed at the hospital. This was the group that we had swapped with. The 4 in that group were a mother and her 3 daughters. It was the mother that fell. The father had bought them the tickets as a Christmas present a few months earlier. I'm sorry that I've ruined your day like this. Needless to say, we didn't end up jumping that day. Anyway, the wedding the next morning was nice. We should probably just hire some strippers next time. This guy really just thought, wow, I hope I get an instructor that lets me fall that far, that looks way more fun as the people are shitting themselves. In their last moments, story 22, the groom's best friend, 24 years old, died a horrific death in a house fire weeks before the wedding. We were all crushed. How could the wedding proceed without Richie? He was supposed to be the best man. So we gathered at a friend's house where we made sausages and desserts for the wedding and then retreated to a cabin in the woods on the property. About 15 of us spent hours drinking beer, smoking weed, and alternately crying and laughing about Richie. It was like his unofficial wake. I know this all sounds so sad, and it was. But it was necessary. I think we all attended the wedding with a lot of weight lifted from our shoulders after spending the night before celebrating the missing guest. It was a hard night, and I still respect the groom for making his bachelor party about the one person who couldn't attend. Story 23, this was the aftermath of my boss's best friend's bachelor party. They decided he'd sleep at our house, I'm a nanny, and live with him and his kids, so that he wouldn't see his future wife before the wedding, which was the next day. The night of the bachelor party they informed me that the groom's arsehole frat bro brother-in-law is sleeping in the house too. Whatever. It's not my house, so not my rules. Anyway, I hear them being super loud when they get home, and go upstairs to tell them to shut up because there are 3 kids sleeping, and it's 3 a.m. Brother-in-law and groom won't stop bitching at each other. My boss tells me it's been like this all night, and when I ask why he explains that brother-in-law bought the groom a Backpage girl, and had her show up to the party because he thought the groom deserved it. Groom freaked out, told him off, and it completely ruined the night. We managed to get them to shut up, and the groom goes to sleep in the guest room, brother-in-law is on the downstairs couch, and I go back to bed. Half an hour later, someone opens my bedroom door, which I leave unlocked if the kids need something in the night. It's brother-in-law and this girl. When I ask him what the F he thinks he's doing, he says he didn't realize that it was my room, and then something like, I'm not going to waste my $700. I tell him to get the F out. I was so creeped out I locked my room and went and slept upstairs in one of the kids' rooms. Brother-in-law is definitely out here trying to get back at his sister for something. Trying to ruin her life is a bit far though. Story 24. I got invited to a bachelor party that took place in the clubhouse of my friend's apartment complex. The plan was to have drinks and strippers early, and then hit the clubs later. The girls show up and introduce themselves with their best fake stripper names. They were escorted by their manager, Terry, who no joke looked like Dave Chappelle's impersonation of Rick James. Immediately, weird stuff starts happening, like one girl sticking a lollipop up her coos, and then sticking it in people's mouths. Anyway, within the first 5 minutes we figured out we didn't hire strippers. The whole time Terry is walking around and encouraging us to have a good time with one specific rule, don't finish on the bitches. Things are getting intense, and the girls are starting to just full-on start giving head when we heard a girl scream and then go running to Terry. One of our friends who was, less experienced with girls had just blasted this girl's face without warning. She looked like she'd been dipped in it. It was everywhere. Just like that, the music stops, lights go up and Terry exclaims, "Party's over 'cause one of y'all went and came on peaches." To this day we still use that phrase every time we get together, and it's a point of pride to see who can work it into conversation first. Story 25. At my bachelor party I walked into a bar at the head of about 20 people and ordered some drinks. As I was waiting, I noticed a guy antagonizing a table full of people who were trying to ignore him. A bouncer tried to get him to leave, and he lifted his shirt revealing a holster. Someone, maybe me, yelled, "Gun!" And people started tackling the guy and punching the shit out of him. He was able to get his weapon out and fire, only his weapon was a 20-ounce can of Bear deterrent pepper spray. He emptied the can into the air and everyone in the room started gasping and crying and screaming. The police rolled up just as this guy was being dragged to his feet, and throngs of screaming, crying people are pouring out of the bar. Just at this time, my dad and father-in-law arrived to see how the party was going. The first thing they saw, after the utter mayhem, was my younger brother choking out the words, "We didn't do it, Dad." Story 26. Not cheating related, but a friend of mine went bats hit Bridezilla during her hens in Bangkok. Most of us were from Malaysia, and one of the girls flew in specifically from Melbourne just for that weekend to celebrate her hens. That Melbourne girl too had everything planned out for the trip, because whenever we asked Bridezilla what she'd like to do for her hens, she'd go all, "Up to you guys, but I want to do some shopping, nails and massage." So the itinerary was, day 1 shopping, day 2 nails, and day 3 massage before we set off. Bridezilla went full-blown crazy, screaming at the top of her lungs and complaining about how this is her hens, and how we're just doing whatever that we want instead of whatever she wants. Then she made fun of some trans person who did her hair, mimicking her actions and tone of voice in front of her, while we're all feeling utterly embarrassed for her actions. She threatened to fly back to Malaysia every single night. When all hell broke loose, we finally sat her down and talked to her. This was the last night before we flew off the next day. We told her about her actions and she still thinks we're all wrong, how we're ruining her hens, etc. One thing's for sure, when we asked her if she really was intending to fly back to Malaysia, she said no, and that there are no flights back anyway. I was fuming inside. True enough, once we're back I hardly met up with her. Only attended her wedding because I RSVP'd way in advance, and I'm not the kind of person who breaks my promise. I don't need a friend like that. Thanks for watching the video this far. I have an exciting channel update to share. We now have a merch store. You can check out the store, link is in the description. Maybe you'll find a design you like, and you can support the channel at the same time. I have created all of the designs myself based on what I would like to wear and use. They don't come off super heavily as YouTube merch, as I want people to buy them based on the designs, and be able to wear them on a daily basis, without coming off as a weirdo. I'll flash some product images on the screen now, but remember to check out the full store, link is in the description. Okay, back to the stories now. Story 27. Okay, this is gonna be a weird one. Basically, a girl in my town got married, and was having her bachelorette party 4 days prior to her wedding. The party started off fun, and of course everyone got drunk quite quickly. But later that evening, her 4 best friends had a special surprise for the bride. They found a hotel room, and invited a stripper from England. Bride was from Germany, this fact will be relevant later on. Well, one thing led to another, and the girls started to make out with each other, and then with the stripper. Suddenly one of the bridesmaids pulls out a bag of flour, and they want to try it. What is the best way to snort it during your bachelorette party? Of course, off of a stripper's you know what. After that, a few girls did it with the stripper, one of them being the bride's best friend, married and a mother of a 9-year-old. But now comes the best part, the stripper filmed it all. The girls knew about this, and even held the camera, his phone. After that night the stripper left the country and was not seen again. The bride married her husband 4 days later, and no one wanted to talk about that night again. About a week after the marriage, the stripper shows the video to some German guy in a bar in England. Turns out this guy actually knew the girls and was even at the wedding. One thing led to another, and the video ended up being on the Hub and several other adult sites. It still is on there, oh yeah. And of course they got divorced a few days later. This whole story blew up in Germany on a social network that many people use around here called Jodel. If you find the video on the Hub, you will see all these comments that they came there from Jodel. It is a crazy story, and it is even crazier that I see her every day in our small town. Story 28. So several years ago while at his bachelor party, my buddy, the groom, got it on with a stripper. Shortly after getting married he found out his wife, at her bachelorette party, had slept with a male stripper. Here's where it gets crazy. Fast forward a few years and they are still together, on vacation somewhere, and they run into the guy from her bachelorette party. He had gotten married. His wife. The stripper from my buddy's bachelor party. Apparently they were both attending the same college at the time when my buddy was getting married, and they were both doing side jobs to make extra cash. Craziest thing I've ever heard about in my life. Story 29. I'm late to the party and told this one on Reddit before, but it makes me smile. We went to a chili house and the best man and groom were trying chili oil on tortilla chips. They went up through the Scoville scale, 10,000, 100,000, 500,000, then 1, 2 million, the most they could legally let us try. Both were in tears. Anyway, after that we left and the best man showed me that he had bought some 1.6 million chili oil too. Put in the groom's pint later, as a joke. The next bar we went to we were all sat at a table, chatting, when the best man puts his hand in his pocket and when it comes out it's covered in a red liquid. His face slowly changes as he realizes that the bottle has cracked in his pocket and chili oil is now slowly spreading its way across his groin. He gets up and legs it to the bathroom as we all crease up. He comes out about 20 minutes later, visibly limping, and says he's going to have to go back to the hotel to change. That night he was dancing like a man who had had his balls tasered. But the real fun was the next night when another friend of mine came out of the bar toilet pissing himself laughing and waved me over. I went in and the best man turned from the urinal to show his willy, which is now half bleached ivory white. This was over a year ago and it's still in that state, so we're quite positive that it's permanent. He calls it his jalapenos. That's not good. I think you need a doctor's visit for that one, Chief. Let me know in the comments which story you liked the most, and don't forget to leave this video a like. In other news, we've just gone past 2,000 subs on this channel. Thank you to everyone that has subscribed, it's what makes the videos possible. I'm trying to upload more often for you guys starting this week, so there's more great videos to come. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that thumbs up, and subscribe for more Reddit stories like this. I hope to see you in the next video.